we have some guests in the Abuja studios, but perhaps I understand that we're going to kick off with just one of them and then come to the others in just a bit. That first guest is Mr. Akin Oshutoku, who is the DG of the Labour Party campaign organization. Mr. Oshutoku, good afternoon and welcome to the program. Let me begin by asking you what your overall view of the elections that have taken place since yesterday and running into the course of today have been as we have them.
Visions and reports that we have received, it has been marred by irregularities. And the irregularities that tend to indicate some kind of deliberate connivance or conspiracy, between the Inec and some forces that I don't know. But before I go on, one peculiar thing is that the other two parties seem to have been contented with the conduct of the election so far, irrespective of all that we have witnessed. Not only that was particularly addressed at us, violence, snatching of ballot boxes, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, there is a little bit of selective application of the ground rules as laid down by Inec itself.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. At the point. Sorry, just a moment, Mr. Oshutoku. Just a second. Just a second, Mr. Oshutoku. When you said that the other parties have seem to be content, I don't think that's absolutely correct. There's been a statement that's been issued by the APC following your statement, which, to put it mild, briefly, what they said was that it's not that they've not noticed that anything has gone wrong, but that they are prepared to wait for the results process to be complete before making any comments or before taking any action one way or the other. I don't know if you've seen that comment or that statement.
No, I won't doubt what you have stated, what you have said. There are a number of issues here, right? At what stage are results from the polling units due to be uploaded to the server? Do you wait till all the results, you have all the results, like seems to be the case, and waiting till this afternoon to do so? Or you upload them as they come in? I'm of the view that that should be the case. As you get the results from the polling units, you upload them to the next stage. This has not happened. Secondly, is the fact that prior to the election, Inec was conscious of the fact that some ballot papers did not feature the candidacy of candidates at the senatorial and House of Representative stage. Now, when we pointed this out a few days ago, they accepted the fact and apologized, but said it is not a mistake. Now, that they were aware that there was it was reflecting court judgments. They were saying at one point the appeal court's judgment was that, gave a judgment against the inclusion of candidates. The Supreme Court overturned that decision. And the decision of the Supreme Court came about 2 weeks ago, which had given the INEC sufficient time to amend its records accordingly. They didn't do that. And if they didn't do that, I would have imagined that immediately before the election starts or something, they should have notified that there is a case like this, on ground, and that they are aware of it and that this is the remedy. They didn't do that until we approached them and pointed this out. And then the Inec commissioner yesterday announced a remedy, which was very notable on account of the being so cumbersome that I will find it difficult to do what they are doing, that in case that you have a ballot paper that does not reflect your candidacy, something is a voter, somewhere is a blank sheet is attached where you can write or some kind of funny things all over the place. And many reports of violence, in Lagos, Bvas particularly, but generally all over the country. And that again seems surprising to me because you see that there were people expressing concern at the prevalence of soldiers on the streets or in the neighborhood of Lagos. So I was wondering that where were these soldiers when all this violence was being wreaked on people. Now, there was also the case of when I spoke with some diplomats who said that Inec said that nationally they had a problem with the server. Now, again, if you are going to conduct a very critical election, shouldn't you have anticipated that this can occur and then have a fallback option, right? That is number one. So it looks a bit suspicious to me. The second
did you take
one
up? Sorry,
is that
Mr. Shitoku, did you? Sorry, Mr. Shitoku. Sorry, I don't want you to forget your train of thought, but I just wanted to find out when these diplomats you spoke to who talked about the problem with the server that Inec reportedly talked about with them. Did you take up Inec on the subject, and if so, what did they tell you?
Take Inec on the subject?
Yes, I mean about the issue of the server, that they were having problems with the server.
Some of my colleagues did. I didn't.
Okay.
And I have no reason to doubt what they did. I can't hear what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that I'm asking the question.
Tell you what I didn't do.
No, I'm asking the question. If it was taken up with Inec, what did Inec say? What did Inec say? Did Inec confirm that they were having problems? Because they have not admitted that publicly, that they are having problems with their servers. That's why I'm asking.
Well, listen, I cannot imagine that they will be lying to those diplomats. And again, to answer the question, they did accept. That was one of the excuses being given, that they had problems with the servers. That was why it was not directly uploaded. But I was going to say that at a comparable stage in 2015, because I've noticed an element of passivity among the international observer community in this election. At the comparable stage in 2015, not only did President Barack Obama specifically address Nigeria, on the election, the significance of it, and so on and so forth. The Secretary of State, John Kerry, at almost, exactly the same stage, when Inec was dragging its feet, or so it seemed, in coming forth with the result of the election, John Kerry issued a statement on behalf of the American government that the INEC should proceed immediately, that they should go ahead, and release the results. That delaying it or whatever it is giving cause for concern. This time around, I've not seen anything to that effect. So these are the number of issues that, I would have been, urged by some of the members of international communities to enjoin our supporters and Nigerians to be calm about this development. Now, of course, if I were to reflect the kind of anger, frustrations and bitterness that I have personally received across the board, I don't know what I will be. What I'm doing now can be considered very mild, in channeling those emotions. So these are the issues. For me, particularly, I've never had high hopes of this Inec. When people point out the fact of Bvas and so on and so forth, that it is practically impossible to manipulate with Bvas, I said, look, if I look at the pedigree of this particular Inec, they don't particularly strike me as people with noble intentions or those who will do the right thing. The 2019 elections being an example of what happened. And so I've always said, look, to give them the benefit of the doubt is a little bit difficult for me, and they have acted true to type, and that's why I asked the initial question. What is the process of collation? Results are released at the polling units. When are they due to be uploaded? Apparently, they are due to be uploaded almost immediately. Hence, they reported that the problem was the server. Now, if you are operating, you have a critical election as you do have today. Shouldn't you have anticipated that something can go wrong with the Inec server and made a fallback, rectitude, for it?
Mr. Shutoko.
Okay, so now what if the server continues to fail? Are we going to continue to wait, theoretically, for days to get these results uploaded? So this is a challenge to them, and they should best look, in this kind of situation, you must not only be transparent, you must be seen, to be transparent and credible.
Mr. Shutoko, let me jump in here, because you did mention hearing from diplomats and, that Inec reportedly said that its servers were down. I know that hearsay is not admissible in court, so, that's another issue for another day. But the Inec chairman had 2 briefings yesterday, and he had the 3rd one, which is when he opened, the National Collation Center. Now, in his 1st and 2nd briefing, which I'm sure you followed, didn't that address some of the earlier challenges which you've mentioned that was experienced on election day yesterday, and then today, the process of the collation, and then hopefully the results being released today?
That's addressed nothing. What I'm saying are the questions that at what stage are you supposed to upload the result of the election? I presume that once an election has been accepted or gotten at the polling unit, you do so directly. You don't need to wait. You are supposed to release the result as it comes. If that is the case, we are now being told that Inec server failed from the word go, from the first result that came out in yesterday's election, maybe about 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. And then subsequently, the server failed all over the country. Now,
well, Mr. Oshutoko, I'm surprised that you're saying that, because I'm sure you are aware, Mr. Oshutoko, I'm sure you are aware that some of the results have, in fact, been posted onto the IREF. So it's not as if no results are there. There are some results that are there. And the point, just to speak to the point that you made about, the Inec server being down, you didn't hear that from Inec yourself. You said you were told by diplomats, who had allegedly been told by Inec. So I'm wondering, shouldn't you exercise some caution basing your comments on, what is third-party comments, not something Inec told you directly? Because as Millicent pointed out, INEC has held 3 briefings between the start of the election yesterday and today, and nowhere did they mention that the server had problems. It was not mentioned.
It's either you didn't listen to me, you didn't get my point, or you didn't listen to me very well. As a person, I am not the only person in the campaign organization. I'm the DG head of the campaign. So it's not only me that made contacts with the third parties or second parties. Or some of our officials who made contact with INEC. That was what they told. I don't have problems. There's no reason for me to believe so. I cannot be in all places at the same time. I mean, we saw, when I said we, what I'm not, it's not me. I don't constitute the campaign council. I'm the chief spokesperson, I'm the chief executive. The fact that I did not hear it directly from INEC, there's no cause for me to doubt whether one of the directors of external relations or legal director is telling me a lie. I don't have to personally hear it. I'm telling you the one that I personally discussed.
Okay.
And of course that since they are expected to be more objective, to be detached from the process than Nigerians, I expect that what they will say will be more, I would rate it above partisanship. That's why I gave that emphasis. So don't tell me, I recall that it was after I had an appearance on Arise Television yesterday at about 10 p.m. That was the first time I had that results were being uploaded onto the INEC portal. So up till 10 p.m. yesterday, what was the situation? So I'm not telling you, there's nothing that I've told you that contradicts or accept the kind of contradiction or controversy you are trying to introduce. That is the situation. What was the case? I went on here at about 10 p.m. yesterday. There was nothing in INEC portal, nothing. And results are started coming out from 3 p.m. And I was not the only one making contact about the situation with the elections. I pointed out the one that lies specifically. Organizationally, we had contact with INEC, and that was what they were told. So I hope that clears the point sufficiently for you.
Mr. Oshutoko, it's very important for you to understand that our job is to ask questions, and that's what we're doing. We're asking you questions, and we expect that you give us answers on the basis of what you know to those questions. That's what we're doing. That's our job. So in that respect, that's why we're asking you the questions. We're not introducing anything. What we want to know is, at this point in time now, we're about to start witnessing the official collation of the results. What are your own expectations? You've already talked about the things that you are made to understand happened. What are your expectations now?
I don't know. Look, I was trained, in science, in social science, and of course the probability of actions. Look, you look at the pedigree. I have no sufficient enough indices, right, to believe that the right thing will be done. I want to be pleasantly surprised. I'm not saying that what is going to happen is going to be wrong. I can only be in hope, not in expectation, that INEC will do the right thing. And they have proven it at the stage of this, so for me, I don't speak in abstract. Right? In the context of this election in which we find ourselves, I have no expectation that INEC would be. I can only hope. When I say I don't have any expectation that they will do the right thing, I'm not saying that they will not do so. I want to be pleasantly surprised that they will do so.
If your expectation is that INEC would do the needful, have you personally, being the leader of your campaign, as you said, the chief executive of the campaign and chief spokesperson, as you said, is it an issue you have personally raised with INEC officials, especially at least Mr. Festus Okoye, the spokesperson to the commission? Can you hear me, Mr.
I hear what you are saying. And that,
can you hear me now?
But you got me wrong.
Can you hear me now?
I said, I hope. I don't have the expectation that they will do the right thing. It's not for me to, I don't need to tell them or interact with them. As a member of Nigerian public, the conduct of this INEC, without needing to be a member of a campaign council, I'm a member of, I'm an observer, I'm a Nigerian observer of what is going on in the Nigerian public. What I have seen in that capacity, I don't have to be the DG of a campaign to come to that conclusion. They have made promises, they have said things that didn't pan out. There have been behaviors that are suspicious, and I've highlighted those. So it is on the basis of those indices that I tell you that I hope the right thing will be done. But I don't expect, I'm not particularly expecting them to do so. And that's why I told you, I want to be pleasantly surprised. I'm not going to rely on what they said. They don't give explanations, keep on, fragmentary and selective. From what the INEC chairman just said, it will seem as if the rule is to wait for a specific time, the following day or any time, before you start uploading the result. And that is clearly not the case. The case is as if those results come in polling booth by polling booth, you are supposed to upload them. And they didn't.
I'm assuming at least that your party agents all over the place have at least sent you some of these proof.
Proof of the results, yes. I got the results, the result from the polling booth, yes. They sent it that it was occurring, but INEC did not upload them.
But that's on the one hand. On the other hand is that even with the results uploaded on the IREV, the announcement, the official announcement has to come from the national chairman of the party. You don't think it's enough to at least wait until that process begins?
I don't understand what you are saying. Look, if they upload it, it's in their portal. You will find it in their portal. I don't need to wait for the announcement. I will find it in INEC's portal. What I'm saying is that until 10 p.m. yesterday, at the very minimum, there were no results on INEC portal. I was not waiting for chairman to announce any result. I'm waiting for it to appear where we are supposed to find it. I didn't see it there.
Mr. Oshutoku, were there some positives at all? We've had a number of experts, analysts talk about turnout, which is one thing we heard from a lot of people. The number of people who said they were going to vote, even when the Bvas didn't work, they went home, came back, and then, they were accredited and all of that. Did you receive news of this?
Yes, of course. I mean, there are positive aspects to it. No doubt about it. I've not said that it has gone all, haywire. There has been. The areas that I feel particularly concerned about are those areas where we have, where we've borne the brunt of the action or misaction, disproportionately. And I did mention to you the fact that some of our senatorial and House of Rep candidates, names were not listed on the ballot. That is number one. Secondly, of course, is the issue of uploading the results as they come in. So this is what I'm saying, essentially. And I didn't say so in vacuum. I told you that, look, we were the one who brought it to their attention that the names of House of Rep and senatorial candidates were missing. I will have they did. Obviously, they knew that was the case. Now, first, they explained why that was the case. But for me, it is not, I don't accept it as an adequate explanation. The judgment of the Supreme Court gave about 2 weeks ago, asked them, directed them to list those names. They had the 2 weeks to do so, they didn't do so. Now, if we didn't do so, when we are now introducing those ballots for use, you should have mentioned that there is this defective, it's defected, there is defective in certain aspects. And those aspects are that the names of some candidates are not listed. And this is the reason they didn't do that. We were the one who went to complain, and then they started fed, and then they apologized and started making explanations, which to me are not error there. And of course, as I said, the remedial action is suggested to me was too a bit cumbersome and unnecessarily complicated. Putting the burden of their own failure on the voter. If you don't find your name there, you go and look at a blank sheet attached to it, do something and so on and so forth. Look, I was part of a government. I was actually a political advisor under President Obasanjo. We had the same Supreme Court directed the inclusion, I think it was the candidate of ACN, the then Vice President Atiku, that was missing, on account of which the old ballots across the nation, was to be discarded. And within 3 days, that government managed, rather than postpone the election, managed to add everything to virtually got manufactured and brought to Nigeria, new ballots within a few days. Now you compare that to what is happening here. Here you have some, I don't know, very few, not very extensive, and apparently restricted to the Labour Party candidates alone. So for me, well, there are several options that are open to them. One, of course, that has just occurred to me is that you may postpone the conduct of those areas where that defect, where that shortcoming occurs. In other words, maybe particularly Lagos State, Ondo, and some other. Look, because of this shortcoming, we are postponing the election, the conduct of the election for the Senate and House of Rep by another week. They didn't do so. When they were bringing the ballots up, they did not say that there is something here. It was only when we then presented the case to them that they reacted. So I find that amiss. So that is the case. But I'm not saying, of course, that all what they did, was wrong. As far as I'm concerned, the Bvas technology worked as it should. But human machines can only do so much. It will ultimately depend on how the human beings who are supposed to apply what the machine has done behave. The Bvas gave the result as they are. And then it was expected thereafter to upload it as released by the Bvas, by the machine, which has done its own job. And then human interference came into place by delaying, for whatever reason, the uploading of those results from the polling units.
All right. We've listened to you, Mr. Oshutoko, but I wonder, now that you've highlighted these concerns, what possibly, I don't know if the party has considered up to that point, what is the next line of action now? Do you have a next line of action on what is going to follow this, especially because of these concerns that you've highlighted, and that in spite of the fact that you have raised them officially, nothing has been done about them or to rectify them?
Well, you know, the results from the polling units are already in public custody. You know, polling unit by polling unit. So we wait and see what the Inec is going to upload and compare them to the results that we have, that had essentially been concluded at the level of the polling unit. We are waiting to see how they tally. This is the reason why we are, you know, why we are skeptical and worried in the first place that why would the INEC find the reason, you know, to delay the uploading those. So if at the end of the day we are going to wait, the extent to which those results correspond to what eventually will be released by INEC.
Okay. We yesterday we spoke to the Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, and he seemed to have been in high spirits about the conduct of the election, particularly in the area where he voted near his home in Agulu in Anambra State. I don't know if at any point these various concerns that have been raised have been discussed with him, and if so, what is his general disposition to what is now the situation that you've highlighted?
Well, his general disposition is that he has charged up with the responsibility of responding and grappling with, you know, the situation as it unfolds, and that is what we are doing. That was my duty. That was our duty long before the election. If anything happens that affects the election, I'm charging you guys to grapple with it and sort it out. And that remains the position.
Indeed. Mr. Akin Osuntokun, Director General, Chief Executive of the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Organization, well, thank you very much for your time. We hope that the various issues that you've raised are resolved satisfactorily and that as we go ahead with the process, it will be to be seen as fair and free. And we wish you the very best of luck. Thank you for coming out this Sunday to be part of the program.
Thank you.